the grass in that picture? That grass?
Wouldn't y'all think?
No, no, that's from,
Oh, is it really? Oh, there's the beam.
This is a picture of our first congregation place, 409 Main Street, Titusville, Florida. I gotta tell you, it was really something. This was at the time also that some pastor had he closed his church. He gave me all this sound equipment. It was incredible because we've been using this little boomboxy thing and its crummy little speakers, which we still have, by the way, and it still works fine, and metal folding chairs, which weren't very comfortable. This bema was provided by a friend of Ed Grass, given to us outright. He built it himself, did an excellent job. Anyway, that's Ed, and there's a bunch of other people in there. That's how we started, Servants of Messiah Ministries. That was what we were at that time. It was a good time. Main Street. It really isn't all that important. Anyway, this is a continuation of the restoration of all of Israel messages. Who is Israel? It consists of 12 actual blood type tribe people, you know, those are sons of Jacob, and all the sojourners or foreigners who joined them. And the video we're going to have is going to fill in way a lot of blanks. Who are you? This is your question. Who are you? Are you Israel? Yahweh, open our eyes that we might see wonders from your word. All right, continued from last week. This is, again, Upright Ostrich, part 16. Pick a side of the fence. Now, I put on this, there is no more time. Several of the people in this congregation and several other people that I know and have been, dealing with for a long time are saying the time has run out. It's over. We're moving. I've been saying since 2000 about the fences. I was teaching on it. It was a vision I had, an actual movie of Yahweh shaking one of those Florida privacy fences. Let me tell you about those things. The posts always rot real early in their life, and they shake real big. And he was shaking the fences to get people off the fence. And I thought, time is short then. Not many years ago, time is extremely short. Now, there is no more time. We did a word study back a couple weeks ago. Talked about the word perfect, which is tamim. Yahweh expects his, get this, his people to be perfect. Tamim. Because he said so. Be perfect. What did he tell Abraham? Be perfect and walk before me. He wasn't saying so, be so utterly, absolutely flawless. That's not what it was about. We talked about clean, tahor. That's the Hebrew word, tahor. Yahweh expects his people to be clean and to keep their camps, i.e. homes, and this place clean. Because he said so. He told us about clean beasts, unclean beasts. He says elsewhere, keep your camp clean because I walk in the midst of your camp. We talked about another word, unclean, which is tameh. We're not to have anything to do with unclean things before him. We're not to bring any unclean things before him. And it says so. We don't eat unclean. Good reason, because we become unclean. we are to be, the Levites and the shepherds, Debbie, Pastor Larry, me, the elders, and Ed, some of you all, are required to teach the people of Israel the difference between clean and unclean, or set apart and profane. Profane just means common stuff, okay? It doesn't mean, nasty words or something like that. Why? They are to teach my people, they, that be them, the difference between the set apart and the profane, and clean and unclean. Malachi is, the whole thing is written to the priesthood. Read it again with that eye. It's written to the Levites, it's written to us. We are to teach you all, clean and unclean. We're held to a different standard, a rather tough one. We are to be clean, our households are to be clean, we are to be set apart, our households are to be set apart. Yahweh commands us that we are to be set apart, and here's where he says this in chapter 11 of Vayikra. I am Yahweh. You are to be set apart. For I am set apart. We cannot even get into his presence if we are not set apart. It doesn't work that way. You can't step into his presence and say, well, gee, just clean me off a little bit, and I'll be fine. We start out going into there. Hey, if you forgot something, that's taken care of. Don't worry about that stuff. But we can't go into his presence filthy dirty. He just can't have it. I'll tell you, this is, today I guess this is my hellfire brimstone, one of my hellfire brimstone messages. We're expected to be different from the rest of the world.
That's right.
We're expected to be set apart from them. We don't act like them, we don't look like them, we don't do the stuff that they do. We do the stuff we're supposed to do. It sets us apart in Yahweh's eyes. Also sets us apart in their eyes. They don't like it. You start following Yahweh, you start doing Sabbath, you start eating properly, clean food, and so on and so forth. Your family's going to be down your throat like nothing's flat.
That's right.
Why? What do you care? I'm doing it for myself. Go away. Your friends. You're going to lose a lot of friends when you don't do Christmas stuff. Sorry. As far as Yahweh is concerned, there's two possible paths. There is his path and the other path. Now you look at a lot of stuff Yeshua says, and he isn't saying the way is easy and broad to come to me. Anybody, just come on. All that other stuff, by the way, that's a false teaching. The way is tough. It's hard. But the commandments aren't. They're simple. Be here on the Sabbath. Don't work on the Sabbath. Well, that's easy. And so on. There's a fence. This is that message. I was looking up a video I was going to plug it into this thing. And the third row down on Bing, where you need to look at videos, the third row down on fence sitting was a video I put on YouTube some years back.
Wow.
I'm famous. No, sorry. There's a fence between his side, our side. Yahweh's side of the fence, as we see here, and the other side of the fence. For convenience, I'm going to name them the kingdom side of the fence, or the kingdom of the heavens, and I'm going to call the other one the dark side of the fence. Yes, I like Star Wars very much. There are people who sit on the fence. They're waiting for something they don't know, or it's kind of cool to be there and kind of dip your feet over here a little bit, and then, dip your feet over there a little bit. You don't want to get too committed to nothing. You just can't do that kind of a thing. There's sometimes it's absolutely outright deliberate. And other times it's survival. You know, if the people at work find out I'm one of them people, I'm going to never hear the end of it. Pick a side. 1 or 0. Black, solid black, or white. Yes or no. There's no gray area. Pick a side. Yahweh says you're going to be either hot or you're cold. He says that in Revelation. If you're not, I'm going to spew you, and I think one other version says puke you or vomit you out of my mouth. He doesn't like lukewarm. You ever eat lukewarm chili? Ugh. Of course, cold chili ain't all that good either. Now, there are people on the kingdom side of the fence. They've kind of just been there all their lives. They admitted they did the Christian thing. They accepted Jesus, all those other wonderful things, and they truthfully are committed to the kingdom side of the fence. Lots of us are. Were. However you want to word that. That's good. They've always been there. So pick the side of that fence, the family of those people. The dark side, by the way, has its people. They've always been there. Now they may put on airs and say, well, you know, we're kind of, we're really Christian, we're really this, we're really that. They're not. They've been on the wrong side or the dark side of the fence all along, and they are satisfied, happy. We'll leave them be. Pick a side of the fence. We get enticed by lies. Many of us were enticed by lies. There's a reassuring lie that everything's okay. Don't worry. I was told this. I'm going to try to quote it. I had an alcohol problem. Way back in the 70s and 80s, I went before a group of elders from this Christian thing that I was in. I was told, you can't be an alcoholic because you're a Christian, and it's impossible for you to sin like that. And I went on for a couple more years in real sad shape until I realized that was a reassuring lie. We also find this a lot, and I'm going to bring something up that came this morning. Ear tickling. Sounds good. Oh, gee, I like that message. Did you hear the pastor's message today? Oh, well, that's wonderful. And he could have been talking about flowers or read an article out of Reader's Digest. I found this one yesterday. I thought this was pretty cool. Sermon series. What would you rather hear? People don't want hellfire brimstone. They just don't want it. The Christian church, this is it. The Christian church wants to eat off the dessert bar. They don't go for the meat and potatoes. They eat off that dessert bar. What they want is sweets and delicious stuff. No hard work. There are also some that are just flat confused. You've been listening for years to this guy talk, and you just deliberately avoided anything that's going to interrupt him until one day you open your Bible and you're listening to him and you read the words he's quoting and you read the very next line and it says the opposite of what he's saying. Now you're confused. What is it? This puts people on the fence. And that's responsibilities of pastors, teachers, and so on. We've done it to them. And there's a deliberate choice. I'm not gonna. Okay. The dark side grows very quickly. There is much more cool stuff on the dark side than there is anywhere else. I'll tell you, they got it. Good music, they got babes, they got booze, they got all those wonderful things that we see and say, I want that. Kingdom of Heaven side, not so hot. And they cannot or they will not be convinced that they're on the wrong side of the fence. And for years they've been pushing that cart with the square wheels, full of the round wheels. I got this thing out of a book I was reading late 60s, maybe early 70s. I've stuck with me all this time. This is so many of us we're caught in a rut. We've been taught this guy wouldn't lie to me, would he? Probably not deliberately. Eventually the kingdom side starts filling up. Some people jump off the fence and get in on the kingdom side, or they jump off and they go in on the dark side. It doesn't matter. Get off the fence. Pick a side. Some are waking up. That's why we're here. There is no more time. Some just flat refuse to conform. I'm a nonconformist. I kind of been that way all my life. Yeah, Tom. We just flat, no, I'm not going to do that because just because everybody else does it doesn't mean anything. Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah 16 says, O Yahweh, my strength and my stronghold and my refuge in the day of distress, the Goyim, the nations, the Gentiles, shall come to you from the ends of the earth and say, our fathers have inherited falsehood, futility, lies, idol worship, and there's no value in it. It also says this in several other places, or something very similar to it. We were taught lies. We were taught from, like, let's say, the pastor. But the pastor was taught that from his pastors in the schools that he went to, who were taught by the schools and their pastors, who were taught, and on and on and on. I'm not going to blame the guy for doing this. Here's the other problem with being on Yahweh's side of the fence. Our church, our friends, our family will just not allow the nonconformist person to follow the truth. They will hang us. And this picture shows it. The light bulb versus the candles. This is a problem we face when we want to go and accept Yeshua. When you find out that we're Israel, like this video coming up. When you find out these things and you say, this ain't the way to do it. Or you spend another year sitting under the teachings and you say, this is wrong. This is where I should have put that little videoette of the marmot screaming, ah! Eventually people start getting into the kingdom side. They come from all over. They come out of the church, they come out of the streets, they crawl out of the bars. Some of them have been so beat up and so hurt they're looking for relief. They're looking for something and they come. Who do you bring your trouble to? Nobody cares like Jesus, they say. But yet we don't have to do all that stuff. This man came and told us we don't have to do all that stuff that my Father gave you to do, but it isn't consistent with his teachings. Yeshua's teaching says, I only tell you what my Father told me to tell you. That's it. I'm not making anything up. Yahweh's side will fill. People are compelled to come over. This is a word we had a couple Wednesdays back. Compel them to come to the wedding. Yeah, maybe we're at a day where we're going to have to go drag them in. I don't know. I know that doesn't work for some cases, and it may not work here. Pick a side. What's your temperature? Hot, cold, lukewarm? And Yeshua says, I know the works of your hands. You're not hot, you're not cold. Really wish you'd be hot or cold. You ever had mayonnaise or potato salad that's been sitting out in the sun on the picnic table for 4 hours while everybody's playing around with stuff? Sun-ripened mayonnaise? That don't belong. He will vomit us out of his mouth if we're in the lukewarm stage. Also, that was Revelation, where is it? 3. Revelation 22. Now, we're at the end of the book, okay? It says, let him who does wrong do more wrong. Who is filthy, let him be more filthy. But who is righteous, let him be more righteous. Who is set apart, let him be more set apart. There is no more time. Those on the dark side of the fence, they're on the dark side of the fence. You can climb over the fence. But I think we got the word. I'm not going after them. If they hear this message, and they're all over the place, they can hear this message as well as anybody else can. All of the messages that, I've been here 2 years. I've been listening to the messages off of this place, and they are consistent with restoration. They are consistent with this, what we're talking about. Get on Yahweh's side of the fence. Every single last one of them has been that way. Okay, they've had the chance. 2 years, I don't know how many weeks worth of messages that is, but it's a lot. If you want to stay on the dark side, have fun. There's no more fence sitters. The guys on the fence have to make a choice. Pick a side. Then they get off and they go one side or the other. Get your head out of the sand. That's the whole upright ostrich thing. Pull your head out of the sand. Guess what's exposed when you're doing that? That's not real good. Wake up. This stuff is for you. Yeshua came for you. You can reject him if you want to. I got a few minutes for closing comments. Okay. Have you seen articles on the internet, or I don't know about TV, I don't have one anymore, about the wolves that have been reintroduced into Yellowstone Park? The wolves are actually changing the environment of the park back to what it's naturally supposed to be. You watch the articles or watch the videos. It explains it. The wolves are necessary, even though there are wolves in the church, in the body. We were warned. Rav Shul warns us way back in Romans chapter 16, talks about the wolves. You know, they're going to be wolves, watch out for what they say. Good, true. Are the wolves being reintroduced into the body of Yahweh? Why do I say that? The wolves coming in, and they, believe me, this messianic or messianic movement has grown leaps and bounds. And there are people up front teaching stuff. And they shouldn't be. They are wolves. They're wolves in messianic clothing. They got beards, they wear a talit, they got the tzitzit things and all that other kind of stuff, but they're wolves. I think he always put them there. Now, I didn't like the thinking of this, but this was this morning. The wolves tickle ears, they teach false doctrine, and they entice believers with glitzy music, with promises of stuff, prosperity teaching, all right, outright lies. They do manipulate people away from Yahweh's commands by, hath God not said? Remember that story? That snake said that to Chava, Eve. Hath God not said you can eat anything you want? Smooth talking. They lure people away from Yahweh's Sabbaths by repackaging false doctrines and reteach it. They lure people away by focusing on minutia while ignoring the greater truths. We're going to look at this word. We're going to spend a 45-minute message on this one word, and I'm going to dazzle you with my brilliance and fancy fit footwork. I can do it. Boy, I got a whole bunch of cool stuff. Doesn't work. Because if that's what you're getting a steady diet of, the big truth is sitting right there. It's the elephant in the living room, and you're not looking at him. I know a man who is right now experiencing this, who was totally dedicated to Yeshua. Now he's, I don't know. They plant seeds of doubt. Within the Messianic movement, I'm going to tell you, there are leaders within the Messianic movement, rabbis, and you know a couple of them, you know of them, who have said, wait a minute, maybe, and then there are teachers within the movement who say, well, you know that New Testament stuff is really a lot of allegory and so on. I'm not so sure if Yeshua really existed. End of quote. We lost good men and good women through that kind of stuff. There are anti-missionaries. Some of them are on YouTube, and some of you all are listening to them. And you don't know it, because you don't know their history. 10 years, well, more than that now, some 15 years ago, one of those people had on his website a whole lot of stuff that was very, very anti-New Testament. Now he's doing all kinds of great things. Everybody's just loving him. Are the wolves good? For the flock. Flock is full of weak. What do the wolves do? The wolves don't go for the strong guy. They leave him alone. He's going to kick and fuss and all that kind of stuff, and they don't want to deal with that. They go for the weak guy. It's their way. It's their job. It's what they do in Yellowstone. They eat the sick, the weak critters. I want to tell you about wolves in the flock. You've mentioned this, Pastor Larry. Rapture doctrine, a wolf in the flock. Dispensationalism, if that ain't the biggest wolf in the flock, I don't know what is. The thing, Old Testament, New Testament. There's an attitude, we're in the new time. The Sunday Sabbath is a wolf in the flock. We're under grace and not under the law. Sorry, that's another one. Lunar Sabbath. If any of you don't know what I'm talking about, you are blessed. The lunar Sabbath is a false doctrine, and it is leading people away from celebrating Yahweh's true Sabbaths. That's all I'm going to say. Patriarchal marriages. If you don't know what that is, you're super blessed. But there are people that are teaching that because it's Scripture. I don't know. The Melchizedek priesthood. Beware. That's a Mormon doctrine. And it's being presented to Messianics right now as the thing. You're supposed to be a Melchizedek priest. Run. The wolf is after you. And I'm just going to call it fringe foolishness. I couldn't think of anything else. UFOs, flat earth, aliens. You know, this stuff is permeating, not just the Messianic, it's permeating the church. It's destructive. Run. It's a wolf.